Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Big Hype podcast with me, Jonathan Millard. Brought to you in association with the Big Hype energy drinks. Bravos, boxing gloves, protect yourself at all times, and combat ticks. But joining me right now in the studio from, I want to say Chelsea, but he's not. It's near Chelsea because he's a big Chelsea fan. And we're just going to say he's from Chelsea just for the point of the episode. Joey Knight.
Yep, how you doing, mate? You good?
Good, mate. Thank you very much for joining us. Really appreciate your time, as I've already said to you before. And you're a busy man. You're a busy man. Misfit's boxer now.
Nowadays,
Pro pundit on Chelsea football, Chelsea FC.
Yeah.
Doing well, mate.
There.
Doing well.
Getting there, yeah.
Lots and lots of growth. But I'm going to ask you the same question I've asked everyone else that starts this podcast with me, which is how and why did you get involved in boxing?
I started boxing like really late compared to the people that maybe have got to the level that I've fought at, sort of thing. So say, for example, I fought, top amateurs and stuff like that. I fought a Golden Gloves winner, things like that. Most of the time, you'd start boxing probably maybe around the time you'd start like secondary school, maybe a little bit earlier for some kids, but most of the time you're starting around 11, 12 years old or whatever. Parents will get their kids into the gym and whatnot. And it could be for anything really. It could be for a bit of confidence. It could be because they're good at it or just anything. Let a bit of steam off. I never did that. I was a tearaway. Like I was just a naughty kid. So it got to, I think I was 20 years old. Yep. I was 20 years old and I heard of a gym in Red Hill called Light to Box, and I had a friend going down there at the time. And I went to a Quest show, which was originally branded the Queensbury back in the day, but same faces, same spaces, same people. I went to one of those shows, had a few drinks, and I remember thinking, oh, I'd like to do this. I'd like to fight on one of these, but I had no boxing experience. I had none. So, I think about 2 weeks after that, I went on a lad's holiday, 2-week holiday to Ibiza. And I said we were sat. It's a really weird story. We were sat on a beach, right? We're all on a come down and whatever. Sat on a beach with 2 or 3 of my pals, and I was like a smoker, drinker, and everything back then. And I turned round and I went, when we get home, I'm going to become a boxer. And my mate thought, like, it's just shit talk. Do you know what I mean?
It's the drink. It's the drink talking.
Yeah,
mate.
It's the drink talking and whatnot. I said, no, I'm going to do it. I'm going to become a boxer. I said, they do these shows at Epsom Downs and whatnot. And to be honest, I think whether I consciously knew it or not, I probably got into it as a form of maybe escapism from just... not wanting to live a shit life, wanting to be more healthy, be a bit more tunnel vision.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So much to unravel in that, isn't it? So you literally didn't get involved until you're 20. You kind of came off it, kind of not like some of the amateur stuff. You didn't do any amateur stuff at all then.
I've never had an amateur bout, no.
That's crazy, isn't it?
I beat some good amateurs, but I've never had an amateur bout myself. Yeah.
It just proves that there is an alternative route. I suppose that's the good thing about your story here, Joey. It is an alternative route into boxing. And, from there, the acorn that grew, what was it like stepping into the Queensbury arena then after going through all that sort of thing? How long did it take you roughly? Did it, after the holiday to getting in the ring?
Straight away after the holiday, I went down to the gym. Ian Jumbo Johnson, very well-renowned cut man, licensed by the British Boxing Board of Control, travels all over the world doing cuts and whatnot. He was my trainer and someone I, hold very, very, very fondly. He taught me everything I knew to start with, for the most part, to be honest, like up until I got with my trainer that I'm with now. And he was quite harsh on me, to be honest. Like, I went down there, and what I didn't realise, I was quite immature, and I didn't realise, like, that this guy was a lot older than me. He had seen a million people come and go like me, and that's why when I was saying, I'll spar, first session down, no chance, whatever. It took him about 4 months to let me spar. And then when he eventually let me spar, he put me in with some some really good boys that were boxing on the Queensbury shows, now Quest, and a couple of professionals, and I had no experience and whatever. Got my arse handed to me, but then kept coming back. And I think then when he saw the commitment, I think then he started to change his mind on me a little bit. And thought, oh, okay, maybe. And then I had shelved the idea of it. I had a family bereavement type thing, and I'd shelved the idea of it, and I hadn't gone to the gym for a couple of months. So I'd done sort of 2 months training, 2 months out of the gym because I was sort of helping out home care for a family member. And I remember when I went back to the gym, Alan Foley was in the gym, and he watched me spar, and he said to me, "Why don't you fight on the Queensbury?" And I was like, I don't know, ask Jumbo, like, I don't know, like, I wouldn't mind it or whatever. So, yeah. And then October 24th, 2015 was my debut on the Queensbury.
So a decade in boxing then.
Yes, a decade in boxing, touch wood, without having my nose broken. Still got the looks.
I can't say anything about that. I don't know. Yes, mate. In fairness, you have got a good cheeky little face on you, and that's
There we go.
That's
nothing else.
Nothing else. No, mate.
But after my first fight,
Yeah.
funnily enough, I was completely like determined that I wasn't going to box again. I had
Really?
my mind made up. Yeah. My first fight. If you ever go and watch it back, it's on YouTube. Joey Knight against Tim Carpenter. I got in there. I had an opponent. He pulled out on fight week, and then they brought this guy in. And I was kind of thinking, oh, well, if he's brought in on a week's notice, like he might be a journeyman or something. Fucking wish he was a journeyman. He was hard work. I later went on. It says on his record 0-0, like, no fights. I went on to find out he'd had like 3 fights. I think he'd 3 boxing matches. I think he'd had something like 16 MMA fights or something like that,
tough cookie.
or whatever. And it was a baptism of fire. I came out in the first round, deer in the headlights, got battered, went back to my stall. And I remember in between round 1 and 2, I remember thinking, right, this ain't going your way, but you're not a quitter, right? So go out there and go out on your shield. Throw the kitchen sink at him, go out on your shield. I ain't going points, or I'm not quitting on my stall. I'll get knocked out. Go out there, throw the kitchen sink at him, whatever. So I've gone out there, and I kind of think in the back of my head, I probably wasn't that confident. I probably knew in my back of my head, like, this guy's a man and I'm a boy. He was 10 years older than me. He was 31. So he's 11 years older than me at the time. This guy's a man. I'm a boy. Whatever. I went out there, and in the second round, I battered him, but not enough to stop him or anything like that. So then I've come out and I've emptied the tank in round 2. And my coach has said to me, right, you win this round, you won the fight. And I was like, I'm knackered. And he was like, well, you're going to either wake up a winner or a loser, and you won't wake up knackered. So go and win the round. I got a standing count. The ref jumped in, give him a standing count in the final round. And then, won it on the scorecard. So won the debut and went home. And I remember that night, because it was go and watch it on YouTube if you haven't already.
I'll have to go and watch it again.
I don't think you were announcing on that show, but it was a Timu version of Gatti against Ward. It was a war, absolute war. And I remember after it, going home, having a sort of house party with everyone back to mine or whatever, having a drink, having a smoke, and thinking, never again. So even at that point, I still wasn't living the life. I still wasn't living the life at all. And then it took me, I think, another year and a half to fight again.
So it did. Look, fancy. Your memory of that is phenomenal, and obviously the story from that is a phenomenal story as well. So he put you off that much. It put you off that much that you were like, I'm done. That's it. I've done what I wanted to do. So what prompted you then after a year and a half to? I mean, I'm gonna guess you were training. You were still active, or you just
no.
That was it. I'm done. I've done.
Really.
So what pushed you back into it in the year and a half after? 18 months down the line.
I was doing a little bit of training, but not anything seriously. Like, I would literally go down the gym and spar, but like I wouldn't join in with warm-ups. I wouldn't do anything. I was just like, I'll spar, I'll get in, I'll spar unfit, I'll take a few shots and whatever. So, to be honest, I really regret the first stages of my career because I took too much punishment, and I took too much punishment not as a result of being not good enough, just as a result of not understanding that to box you need to be fit. This ain't football. You need to be fit. It's one-on-one sport. There's not 10 men that can bail you out here. You've got to be fit. I kind of thought that the lifestyle I was living at, so I was living a crazy life at the time, and things were going on and whatever. I weren't really in the greatest headspace just in general, let alone to be boxing. And it culminated in me basically going away traveling. I thought, I've got to get away. Like I can't. I'm going mad over here. So I went to Thailand, went to Vietnam, and I went back to Thailand. And the plan was to do it all, the whole shebang, Bali, Australia, all that stuff. I ended up getting arrested out in Thailand, and long story short, I don't want to go into too much detail. Long story short, I had a near-death experience in Thailand, and I flew home that night. got out the cell, rung my mate straight away.
Yeah.
And was like, mate, book me a flight home, whatever. Flew home that night, and then the next day, for some reason, Sant told me to go to the boxing gym. And then after that was when I started taking things serious. And then we went on a run on the quest all the way to 10-0 or something. 10-0 I finished on. Yeah, so yeah, we went on a good little run. Probably two fights a year, something like that. So at the same time, still not taking it like as serious as maybe a professional would, but
Do you think some professionals don't get 2 fights a year? Some professionals don't, can go a whole year without seeing a fight, and it bugs me a little bit. But that sort of topper level of boxing gets to that sort of where contract disputes and other things like that get in the way of them actually doing what they're paid to do, and I'm sure it annoys them. I've spoken to one or two that they'd love to be active and in the ring, and they feel that if they're not active, then what's the point?
Well, that's why I always fought on the Quest platform, because I think, to be honest, like, you meet loads of good people in boxing, you meet loads of shit people in boxing, and I always know whether I can sort of trust someone straight away. And Alan Foley, the promoter of the Quest, is, in my opinion, phenomenal at his job. Very, very good at his job. I think he could do that exact job on a much, much bigger scale, like on a pro show scale, something like that. I've never, ever, ever known someone to turn up and not get a fight that night. In terms of, like, say, for example, I've had pullouts on the day. I've had 2 people pull out on me on the day, and they've got someone in and whatever. And if you look at the amateur route, if you speak to an amateur that has had 25 fights, if you say to them, how many times you turned up to the venue and your bloke ain't been there? They'll go, 5 or 6. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you don't really get that because you don't have promoters as such in the amateurs. It's more just clubs linking
gyms,
it up.
Coaches having a chat with a WhatsApp group or whatever. And I've got a young lad who's 3-0, needs 45 kilograms. Come on, who's up for it? And sometimes you've got to bring them in from, because I do a lot of amateur shows, and I see boys come in from England boxing, Hereford, Chelsea, Cheltenham, Gloucester, Bristol, even up north to come down. So I see it, and it's tough. He didn't get. He's not feeling very well today, so his man pulled him out. And that's what always kind
of put me off. I think, to be honest, that feeling of
it's always
disappointment.
a risk.
I wouldn't want to. Yeah.
You mentioned you're back. We won't go too much into that Thailand stuff because that was before. But you mentioned that football. You were involved, obviously, in football as well. You're a big football fan. You're a big Chelsea fan. I'll let you off. Even though I'm a Spurs fan, we'll let you off. All right. So were you playing football as well as boxing, or were you just doing the life, having a thing? What's your background in football then?
I played football from, I want to say, again, probably quite a late starter. I played football from about 8 until 20 years old. And I was absolutely rubbish. Really, really rubbish. Absolutely rubbish until I got to 16. And then when I got to 16, I found my position, which was goal hanging up front, basically. just basically became a little bit of a poacher, and I just used to. I think from 16 until like 19, every season I was my team's top scorer. We weren't a great team, just like Sunday League. It was a Team FC, Team Village FC or something. I was top scorer for a few seasons and that, but I wasn't even like top 5 players in the team. I just used to be the one that tapped the goal in, basically. But I was always top scorer. And then the problem was I used to get sent off a lot. So I would either score or get sent off. Luckily, in Sunday League, I don't know what it's like now, but when I played, you didn't have free match bans, stuff like that. So whatever. So I'd get sent off a lot, and I'd have a lot of fights at the football. And I remember at the football, there was one of the boys that was in my team. He played right back, absolute rubbish footballer, but went on to the Queensbury and was the bollocks, right? So he played right back in my team. He won the junior amateur nationals, right? So he was a wicked boxer, but he was a rubbish footballer. And his dad taught him how to box. And I remember once getting sent off, and his dad said to me, "Mate, you're in the wrong game here," because I think I'd been sent off for hitting someone.
Yeah.
He said, "You're in the wrong game, mate. You want to come down a boxing club and whatever." I sort of thought, nah, whatever. And then, yeah, eventually listened and, yeah. But I wasn't a great footballer.
footballer. There's a couple of other people I've had on the podcast. You'll have to go back and listen to their stories. There's one that hasn't even come out, and that's pretty much his route into when now he's playing like a boxer as well. So it's kind of like he kind of went, you go to a thing. He play football. He played rugby because he was, he liked to hit hard, and then he was like he hit too hard even for rugby. It was like, okay, next step, you have to put him in the ring. So it's not an unusual path. I mean, obviously there is aggression, in people when you play sports as well. I mean, I see that when I'm watching football, watching rugby, whatever. It's there. Go, but let's go. So yeah, again, you should have listened to him years ago, and you could have been, Would you have gone down an amateur route? Do you think, now looking back at it, would you kind of, if that was an opportunity, would you go back and try it, or would you just say, "I'm happy where I am, I'm looking forward," and where you are right now is phenomenal as well?
Yeah. So the answer to that would be no. I wouldn't have gone down the amateur route, because ultimately, if I had started boxing at, I mean, if I had started boxing really young, I would have rebelled against it and lost interest. If I had started boxing at, 10 or 11, within no time, I would have got into girls and drinking and stuff like that. So really, the only maybe perfect-ish time for me to start boxing was when I started boxing, because I had as I say, I had a near-death experience. I had whatever going on in my head, and I just thought, this is the thing. This is my escape. The boxing's my escape now. So it's like escapism from everything else. So it lined up really well. And at the same time, let's be honest, mate, could I have, if I had started boxing 10 years earlier than I did, and I'd gone the amateur route, could I have become, I don't want to leverage it too high, could I have become a Southern Area champion as a professional? 100%. I've sparred Southern Area champions, I've sparred English champions, stuff like that. 1,000,000%, I could have become a Southern Area champion if I'd have started 10 years earlier. But if my auntie had a set of bollocks, she'd be my uncle. So what's it matter? Ultimately, the money you'd get paid for a Southern Area title fight isn't really in line with the opportunities that have presented themselves from the path that I ended up going down. So sometimes I just think you stumble upon a recipe for success, and ultimately that's kind of what happened, boxing-wise.
That's fair enough. And you're right, boxing, I've had numerous conversations around the whole boxing situation of where, you've got debutants coming out, they're paying for this, that, and everything else, and in the end they walk home with, well, they're minus 100 quid, minus 200 quid, minus 500 quid. It gets kind of like, yeah. What's the end goal of being in professional boxing? The parity between the two ends are so different. So I suppose in regards to that, then obviously, there's other opportunities which we have now, which is a good thing. Like you said, Quest is a great platform to launch people. People go through there. Anthony Yard went through Quest, Mace Ruegg and Nathan Mizzen. They've all kind of names that now are on the scene. doing well, doing
Mm.
really good in the professional game. They
Yeah.
built a bit of a platform for themselves first before launching into some of the amateur stuff. Sorry, the professional game.
Mm.
But then there's also another route, which is the influencer, I suppose, is that's the terminology. I don't like to call it
I
that
think
because
so.
Misfits actually it started as that, but it's actually
Yeah.
become much bigger than that and much better than that. I think they're now the cards are starting to come together really, really nicely. There's some really interesting fights that we're seeing coming through the Misfits platform as well. How did you get involved? What happened? What was the approach to getting you involved?
Funnily enough, I think it was 2 years ago yesterday, or 2 years ago, the day before yesterday, that KSI fought Tommy Fury on a Misfits pay-per-view card. It was a big, big event, and by this point, I'd already started podcasting, basically. So I'd started podcasting, and I just sort of followed the trend, because at first I thought, oh well, I'll have it all under one banner. I'll have a channel, be called the Joey Knight Podcast, and I'll have Chelsea on there, and I'll have boxing on there, and I'll have this and that and whatever. And then I realised that YouTube doesn't work like that. Like, it doesn't really like varied content. It likes you to find your niche and then pump out to your niche. And if you want to do other content, start another channel for that, because there are going to be certain people that like football, but they don't like boxing. And if you keep getting boxing videos uploaded, whatever. So what I found was I went down the football route. Through going down the football route, I got asked to appear on a load of different like podcasts and shows and stuff like that. And I'd done some really cool stuff. Like I'd done some stuff with Rio Ferdinand, Joe Cole, Anton Ferdinand, Danny Murphy, loads of ex-pros and stuff like that. But my main thing that I was really happy about was I got invited to be a guest on a show called The Kickoff. And The Kickoff was hosted or was founded by who I know as Brian, but most people know as True Geordie. And we just became friends through the Kickoff, really. After a little while, I sort of we were talking about boxing. He said, "Are you into your boxing?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "I'm retired now, but I said I did box, like whatever."
Yeah,
I was only about 27 at the time, whatever. I said, "Yeah, I'm retired now, but I said I did box." He said, "Oh, would you box amateur?" I said, "No, no." I said, "I box like unlicensed," but said I boxed some good amateur boys in the
yeah, yeah.
unlicensed scene, 30 odd fights and stuff like that. And whatever. And he was kind of like, "Why are you just telling me this now?" He was like, "You do realize, like, I could get you on that Misfits?" And I was like, "Oh, don't know. Yeah, I hadn't really thought about it." And I actually hadn't. I'm not just saying that. I actually hadn't really thought about it. We were watching the KSI against Tommy Fury fight, and there were these two lightweights on the card. One was called Dean the Sank, and the other is called Walid Sharks, right? And we was on the stream, and I remember turning around, and uh, it was like a mixture of confidence and alcohol. I would batter both of them anyway, by the way. But it was a mixture of confidence and alcohol. And I remember saying to him, I said, "I'll beat the shit out of both of these two." And Brian turned around to me and went, "Would you?" And I went, you're kind of expecting someone to like laugh or whatever. He went, "Would you?" And I went, "What, these two?" And he went, "Yeah." And I went, "Yes, of course I would. I'll beat boys better than this." And whatever. So from there, he was like, "Right, Joey's serious." Then I sent him a few little sparring videos and whatever, and he was like, "Right, we'll get you on." He had obviously the connection with the promoter, and then obviously he showed the promoter that I already had a platform. I don't know what I would have had at that time combined over all the different platforms, including social media, maybe like 500,000 followers or something. And then from that, they booked me for a show. So I remember on Christmas Eve, they called me and said, "Will you fight on the 25th of January or something?" So I
Yeah.
only had like 3 weeks notice. They called me and said, "Would you fight on this show?" I said, "Yep." And then I had that in Leeds for 3 weeks later or 4 weeks
4 weeks later.
later out in Nashville. Yeah, in
Wow.
Nashville against a really well-known guy. That one really got my juices flowing, because I knew about the guy when they said he was in the tournament. I went, "Oh, that'd be cool to fight him." I used to watch him. Because
Yeah.
he was internet sort of sensation. I think if you look, Baby Hulk, the guy's name is, really nice guy. If you look him up, on the internet, I think his fights, like there's just one fight alone that I think has like 50 million views, maybe, or something, which, you know,
It's nothing to
if
be
you look at
snooped at, is it? I'd love that 50 million views.
that's more views than some Anthony Joshua fights have got, mate.
True.
It's more view. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I get it's a different demographic. Yeah, so I was like, oh, get me in if you can, like, you know what I mean?
Mhm,
So I
mhm.
had a fight with him in Nashville. That went really well, and then my next one was against a guy that won the Golden Gloves. He won the Open State New York Golden Gloves. So if you imagine, I think the population of New York is 3 times the size of Scotland.
Probably.
So if you were the best boxer at your weight division in Scotland, you'd be considered pretty good. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So this guy was pretty good. And also, he was a southpaw, which no one likes to fight a southpaw. It's my
One
first
likes
time fighting a
fight,
southpaw.
no one wants to fight a
So
southpaw.
yeah, so I lost that. I lost that by a point on the judges' scorecards, and then I came back in my last one and beat another ex MMA veteran. I say MMA, I think it's Muay Thai or kickboxing, but a guy called Andrew Howson. So he was, I think, he was a 5-time world champion, older than me, but he would just come off the back of having stem cell therapy, which I don't know if you've ever looked into that. There's a lot of studies to suggest that you once getting stem cell therapy, that can knock up to a decade off your sort of athletic age and whatnot. So yeah, it didn't feel like I was in there with a guy 10 years older than me. He was a good fighter, to be fair. Yeah, even on Misfits, I've boxed some boys that weren't that good, like my first one in Leeds. But I've boxed some boys that were really, really good. I mean, the guy that I lost to by a point is now the champion. So yeah,
Would you
mixed bag on there,
want
really.
that rematch? Would you take the rematch for a championship if it was an opportunity?
Yeah, of course. I take it. I take it for free. I take it for no money at all. But I don't think he'd ever want that fight.
Mams don't listen to this. Mams don't listen to this. But
Yeah. Nah. Do you know what it is? I think that fight shot me in the foot a lot because usually you would think. So I because I'm like a little bit in the know with things, and obviously normally they offer it to me before they offer it to an opponent because I'll kind of be the A side depending on who I'm fighting. If I was fighting a champion, I wouldn't be, but most of the time I'll be the A side. So they offer it to me, and I always go, yeah. And we got to a point where I had about 6 opponents that I had said yes to had turned me down.
Okay.
And then it eventually landed on that first guy that I boxed. And then yeah, even after that, like I've had loads of people turn me down for fights. So when I lost to that Cray, I kind of thought, okay, well, at least people have stopped turning down fights with me now. Actually, it did the opposite because I think what people realized from that fight is you can beat him, but he's probably going to need to rock up injured and he's going to make it a hard night's work for you because I had that boy on the ropes in the last couple of rounds. I had him holding on. I'd hurt him. I knew I'd hurt him. You always know when you're about to finish someone, there's a little instinctive thing that comes through your body and you always know. I'm about to disprove that you don't always know because I remember hitting him with an uppercut and a right hook in the 5th round and heard him wince, see his eyes go, and I remember thinking, "You're fucked. You are. You're cooked, and you've got another minute and a half." And I weren't good enough. I weren't good enough to finish him off. So it was what it was. Learned from it and whatnot, but it's what it is.
What it is. Anything planned for Misfits or the future? Or are we saying goodbye to boxing?
I don't know, mate. I don't know.
Never say never, is it, Joe?
I don't know, really. Like, I think my perspective on things has changed a lot. Not in the same place that I was when I started boxing. And if I'm completely transparent, I don't love it like I once did. Do you know what I mean? Like I used to love it. And I used to get such a high from getting my hand raised. And I don't really feel like I get that as much anymore. But at the same time, then what counteracts that is the fact of like, well, hold on, you're good at it, you've never been hurt, and you're getting paid well. So does it matter whether loads of people go and work jobs? But I'm not saying I don't enjoy it. I'm more so kind of saying like what I don't enjoy is the fact that, you know, my little girl wants a McDonald's for dinner and I can't have it with her. Do you know what I mean? Because I'm on a diet, or I do have to go 6 weeks without going down the pub and seeing the boys and having a beer and stuff like that. So the highs are high, the lows are low, and at the moment, I'm not really sure. Like I've got a lot of, I'm really, really grateful for everything, all the opportunities from Quest to Misfits and everything. But at the same time, I'm lucky enough to have other things that are sort of doing well and providing for my family at the minute. And those things, I would imagine, just scientifically, will have more longevity than a boxing career will. 31 now, you know what I mean? So
Yeah, but you say that now. I mean, I've had on the podcast a few boxers who didn't start until late 20s, early 30s, and they're going down the professional route. I mean, it's not, it's like, I'm not taking anything away from me in this about, and I'm trying to sort of just illustrate that there is an opportunity and there's options. I think you probably have
yeah.
more options now, and that's probably better for you. So it's like you said, it's a never say never situation, but the highs are lows, the lows are lows, and you've got to do what's best for you and best for your family at the end of the day.
It is. It is. It's one of them. It's like when I used to box on the Quest shows, I would get a little bit recognised after a fight on the night inside the venue and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You might have one or two people ask for a picture or something like that. You've been at the shows, but that was it.
It's me. I'm the fanboy.
And then there you go. There you go. You've been in a few of the pictures.
I've been a few.
And then when the Misfits thing happened, I probably didn't realise what the sort of advice or warning I would give to anyone now, which is you never have a private life again now, because there's a very, very different audience between people that go and watch you fight unlicensed, pro boxing fans, and then Misfits fans. And the difference is the age. So really, young people knowing you is not the best thing in the world. Blokes in a pub knowing you ain't that bad.
It's not so bad.
I live in a very 99% of the area that I live in, Port Chelsea. So if I go in a pub, a lot of people in there will know me, sort of thing, because of the podcast and whatever. But blokes in a pub, it's not bad. Someone will just come over and say, "Oh, mate, I watch your podcast," whatever. Kids are annoying. Kids are annoying because they're not mature enough to come over and just be like, "Oh, mate, like I watch you on Misfits." So they'll all be looking at you and then they'll go, "Joey," like well loud or whatever, and I'm like, oh, and I get it like every day. I hate it. So I'd always give someone that warning of like, listen, before you go into this, just know that every kid in your area is going to know who you are because they all love Misfits.
That's not a bad thing, but it seems obviously.
Stresses me out.
You're just walking down the street and you get people shouting at you, and groups of little kids going, "Oh, bless you,
God,
Joey."
I don't like it.
I don't get
as
that.
I say,
So it's fine.
I'm a private man, innit? Like I like to keep my private life private. And when I am walking down the street, I'm often with my daughter and stuff like that. So
yeah, I mean, I've got kids myself, so I kind of know.
Yeah.
My 14-year-old boy, his friends, they're like, "Oh, your dad does a podcast." And he's like,
Yeah.
He doesn't see anything wrong with it, but they're like, "Oh, your dad's well weird. He's doing really cool." And it's like, he's just like, "Don't need this, Dad. Can you stop?" I was going, "Nope, tough luck. We carry on." Anyway, we have a closing tradition on the podcast, which is just an either/or questions, rapid fire. Give me whichever way you want to go. So, Joey Knight, are you ready for your final round?
I'm ready.
Southpaw or orthodox?
What? It's just one word answer. Yeah?
Which one?
I'll go southpaw because if I could pick, I'd be a southpaw rather than an orthodox fighter.
Fair enough. Body shots or head shots?
Head.
Train alone or with a partner?
Alone, just me and my coach.
With a partner, but we'll lay you off, okay? Early bird or night owl?
Both.
No sleep.
Up late and then rising early.
How many hours sleep do you get, Joey?
I've got a 3-week-old at the minute, so at the minute I'm doing about 2 hours every 2 days. No. I probably have about 5 hours sleep a night. It's not very good.
The same as me.
Yeah.
Just look at the bags and the wires. Heavy bag or speed bag?
Heavy bag.
Underdog or was the favourite?
Underdog.
Boxing gym or outdoors? in amongst the trees.
Boxing gym.
Short and powerful punches or long and technical?
To watch, long and technical, but for my style, short and powerful.
Fight dirty, fight clean.
Fight dirty.
Not many people say that one, so that's good. Loud
Only
crowd.
against people that are better than me. I've beaten a couple of boys that were better than me by fighting dirty.
Loud crowd or quiet atmosphere? Quick knockout or strategic win?
I get paid for overtime, do you? Quick knockout.
Good. A hypothetical question. This fight has still never been signed, but if it was, who would you go with? OJ or Fury?
It's an easy one. It's an easy one, mate. Tyson Fury. A box ears off him for a few rounds, and then I think Tyson Fury would actually stop him probably within maybe the first eight rounds. I don't think it goes past 8.
That's a proud prediction. Normally we just get AJ or we just get... That's a good prediction. I like that.
What do you think?
Me, it doesn't matter.
No, it does.
I'm a licensed official with the Boxing Board of Control, so I don't have an opinion.
There you go. You can't give an opinion.
I have to just say congratulations. I wish both the best of luck, as Mr. Seamus Dunn tells you many times in the ring. Whoever wins, the fans win. That's the honest answer. We all get to watch the fight that we've been clambering for the last decade.
I don't think we will. I don't think it happens.
Well, we'll see. Maybe Eddie can make it happen.
Happens.
Maybe Turkey can make it happen.
I feel like the problem is inactivity has never been a friend of AJ's, and inactivity has been something against maybe you could say lesser fighters in terms of like a Deontay Wilder, although history is very much rewritten on Deontay Wilder. He was I think he had a 14 defense streak of his WBC belt. You can say what you want about the title defenses and whatever. But what I would say is Tyson Fury basically went into that Deontay Wilder fight inactive. He had a couple of blowouts against 2 rubbish fighters, Sefa Seferi and Francesco Pianetta. Whereas, so Tyson Fury in his career has shown a couple of times actually that he can have longer periods out of the ring, still come back and be very sort of fluent and natural with it. And AJ hasn't showed that as much anymore. And I do believe at this moment in time, Tyson Fury is mentally stronger. So I'd always back Tyson Fury, but listen, heavyweight boxing, who knows?
Who knows? Yeah, when you said that, actually, it just reminded me of another boxer I've announced recently. And went back to watch over, and I've watched him quite a few times. Lucas Brown, he's 45, 46, about my age. And he's still boxing, and he still boxes really well. And now he's gone to the bare knuckle. But
he does the bare knuckle now.
He does the bare knuckle now. He's gone over to the BKB stuff, and But I announced him.
He was looking really, really good at one point. I think like 2015, he stopped. Is it Chagayev he stopped? I think it was Chagayev, and he was in Russia, and he was an underdog. They'd have robbed him on the scorecards 100%, and I think, don't quote me because people are now debunked this, but I think he stopped him in the last round. That was a pretty epic win from Lucas Brown.
Yeah, and again, he's a good boxer. Perhaps, maybe, who knows? Boxing, but he was stopped because of his age. Apparently, that was the problem. So, but he can still box, and someone's just said, "No, you're too old to box, so we're not going to give you a license." So. Just
I feel like in the heavier weight divisions, you can go on for a lot longer. I feel like there's a bit less wear and tear on the body. I mean, they say it's a young man's sport. Have a look at the pound for pound rankings. And have a look at BoxRec's pound for pound rankings. You won't find anyone in there under the age of 30.
There you go, see? It's like WWE at the moment. They're all 40 something and they're all retiring. It's like,
yeah.
Anyway,
everyone
I digress. Jerry, how do people get involved? How do they follow you?
Just by typing my name into the internet. I've not got like 1,000,00001.
Got past the point of having to announce myself and say what my socials are. I just put people my name in. It's good. It's great.
To be honest, now often when people say, "Oh, are you on thingy? Let me follow you." To be honest, if you type in Joey, it will come up within the first. You won't have to scroll. It'll come up within the first 3 or 4, I think, a lot of the time. So, but maybe that's because they're local and their algorithm knows they're into Chelsea and shit.
Maybe. If I was putting it in, maybe.
Yeah.
My girlfriend would probably do it. It's probably not. You'd probably come up with some sort of maths or something. There you go. Anyway, Joey, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I hope to watch you again. Hope to announce you again in Quest, perhaps. Maybe a reunion run or...
yeah.
Who knows?
Listen, if I ever have a little farewell fight in Epsom...
That would be the one I'd like to do. So
There we
hopefully
go.
get to see you in that. But thank you so much for coming on the Big Hype podcast, and best of luck to you. We'll see you again soon.
No worries, my friend. Thank you.
Thank you, my mate.
Stop.